Hello fellow SREs, welcome back to SRE with Ben. Today we are going to learn about how to install a DB agent and configure collector settings for the database we would like to monitor. Let's get started. I have installed MySQL and run it as a Docker container. So I will be monitoring this server from my AppDynamics controller. To install a database agent, the first thing we require is the agent zip files. So let's go ahead and download it. For that, head into the database tab under your AppDynamics controller and click on Get Started. Select the type of database you would like to monitor. So I'm going to select MySQL. When we scroll down, we can see there are certain prerequisites to install the DB agent. The first thing is there should be a JVM version of 1.7 or 1.8. The next thing is the machine on which the agent is going to be installed should be able to connect to the controller and the database that you want to monitor. So from my machine, I can connect to my Docker MySQL. So that is fine. Also, we will need a user with relevant permissions so that that user can be used to connect to the database and monitor certain metrics. To understand this point, first we have to understand what is a database agent. An AppDynamics DB agent can be thought of as a simple Java program which is using the collector that we configure and connecting to the database and monitoring its metrics. So, what is a collector? A collector is a set of configurations like the host name, port, username, password that we use to connect to a database. So, internally, the DB agent uses JDBC connections for each collector and it connects to the database and retrieves certain metrics, running some monitoring queries on the database. So for each collector, there is a prerequisite that is the database agent needs to have 1 GB of heap space plus 512 MB per collector. So if you are going to monitor multiple databases using one DB agent, then make sure you do the calculations. They have given an example here of if you want to monitor 5 database instances, what is the amount of memory you would require. Once we are done with the prerequisites, we can go ahead and download the agent. Click on download. My agent has downloaded successfully. I have extracted it and placed it inside this folder. I have changed the name to a meaningful folder name for convenience. This is how the folder structure looks like. Now we are ready to start the agent. If you notice, there is no logs folder currently. So let me first go ahead and start the agent. For that, navigate inside your command prompt to this folder and run this command. This dbagent.jar file is the file that will be running the agent and making use of collectors and connecting to your database to monitor them. I've started the agent. You can see that started default database agent successfully message has been printed here. So let's go ahead and verify in our controller. I can see now my database agent is connected to the AppDynamics controller. So let's go ahead and configure the database collector. As I already specified, a collector is a set of configurations like the host name, port, username, password that can be used to connect to a database. You can have multiple collectors for a single DB agent to monitor multiple databases. The only prerequisite is ensure that the host on which the agent is running is able to connect to your database that you want to monitor. So let me go ahead and configure my Docker MySQL details here. So let me give a name to this collector, local MySQL. The host name will be localhost. Port is 3306. Username is root. For an enterprise DB, you would get these details from your DB administrator, DBA. There are two ways to configure the database collector. One is by giving each property and value individually, or by using the JDBC connection string. Even this you can decide based on what your DBA suggests. So I've configured my SQL details. So let me click on continue. Once I click on continue and scroll down, I can see my controller is waiting for the connection now. So I'll go back and verify the logs. You can see a message here saying starting DB agent collector, and it has started the local MySQL collector that we just configured, and it's sending the data to the controller. So let's go and verify in the controller if the metrics are being received. I can see the database is connected as per the controller. So let me click on continue. Now there is a local MySQL collector which has been created under the database tab. Let me click on it. So let me go ahead and generate some load on my server so that metrics are captured here. I have generated some load on my MS SQL database, and I can see that it's being captured in the controller against time spent versus the amount of load that I'm generating. This is how we can configure a collector and database agent to monitor a database. So if you would like to monitor more databases from the same agent, you can add more collectors. For that, head into configuration, click on collectors, and click on add. Here you would have to give the required details either as separate property values or as a custom JDBC connection string, and click on create. Once you do that, it will get listed here or under your main databases. Here it will come as another collector so that you can separately investigate for each database. To edit the properties of an already configured collector, click on edit collector and you can make the required changes. So this is how you install a DB agent and configure collectors for the agent. To reiterate, a single DB agent can be used to monitor multiple databases as long as the host on which the agent is running is able to connect to the database. You can see that there is something called as hardware monitoring is not enabled on this collector. So what is hardware monitoring is, you can use your DB agent to monitor the infrastructure on which your database is running. For that, you would have to configure certain properties. Since I'm using the trial version, I will not be able to configure hardware monitoring. If you have an enterprise version, you can go ahead and configure hardware monitoring from the same collectors tab. When you click on edit, you'll get the options to configure hardware monitoring as well for the database that you're monitoring. That will be used to collect the CPU memory metrics of the host on which the database is running. We are done with today's video. Thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. Happy learning.